Sri, I have been reading your blogs that you write on LinkedIn. So the two of the recent blogs that you have written, one was like top reason why AI products fail and autophobia. That's so like all the other articles are also very interesting and very informative. But these two, the two recent of yours, like it's quite summarizing the most of the things that we are continuously facing in our field. So I wanted you to like explain, like if you want to go into a little depth of that and like or touch some points of that, and let our audiences also let us know like about that particular thing.
Yeah, sure, right. Like, see, both this article got triggered of two different instances, right?
Okay.
One is we have been hearing too much about auto ML, right? That auto
Yes.
ML taking over data scientist job,
Yes.
and that the first article, the autophobia, got triggered about it, right? The
Yes.
second aspect was why AI projects fail. And typically, if you go on internet and search, right, typically people talk about skill set not availability, they talk
Hmm.
about data availability, right?
Hmm.
So these two things, something like I felt those are relevant,
Hmm.
but really contradicting and not covering the entire breadth of the
Yes.
real problem. So that's what
Yes.
triggered me.
Yes.
So the idea, the coming to autophobia, right? The
Yes.
the autophobia idea came in when I was just reading an article related to it, right? So autophobia is kind of a symptom, or it's not a disease actually. It's something like people who kind of live in constant fear that their
Yes.
world will collapse, they will be isolated, they will stay
Okay.
by themselves, right? And
Okay.
the uh, good interesting thing happened is when I just switched on to LinkedIn, I
Hmm.
kind of saw a similar article where conversation was going on that auto ML will eliminate the jobs and data scientist role will become obsolete, right? So
Okay.
the reason I wrote the article, like correlating both of this, is to make a point that data science is more than what auto ML tool or solution can do today, right? Auto ML and solution is very focused in solving a small section of the entire end-to-end machine learning lifecycle. When I
Hmm.
say that small section,
Hmm.
basically, if you talk about end-to-end machine learning cycle, you have to start. You start with business understanding, data understanding. You start with data collection. You create the data. You do future engineering, and then
Hmm.
comes your model selection, hyperparameter tuning. And
Yes.
the data science cycle is not done there, right? You have
Yes.
to take that particular model, deploy into production, and continuously keep monitoring it,
Monitoring
right?
it.
Now the AutoML part is very specific to a small subset of your future engineering,
Hmm.
and basically the algorithm selection and hyperparameter tuning, right? And
Only that.
it, yeah, and so basically the data science job is more broad
Hmm.
than what really AutoML can do. And
Hmm.
literally, even the data scientists do not want to sit and just manually change the hyperparameter or run a grid search and then run across all the different models, logistic
Yes.
regression, random forest. They also
Yes.
want an assistant for them, right? And that's where
Yes.
really AutoML comes into play. So I just
Yes.
want to debunk the myth that um, AutoML is not going to take over data science job. Data science is more than what AutoML can do. And
Hmm.
the second aspect is how AutoML can accelerate your innovation cycle, right?
Hmm.
It is good to have tool. It's good to have some kind of automation for you as well, rather than doing the kind of the boring. I will not say boring. I will
Yeah.
get a lot of pushback. Rather,
Repetitive.
boring part of the data science life cycle, right? That's
Yes.
how the autophobia article came into play, right?
Yes.
Uh, the second part is like how typically an AI project fail, right? As I told you, right, typically when I was reading through multiple articles,
Hmm.
there were like 3 4 articles posted on LinkedIn. I always saw like, okay, the data is not available in the organization, and
Hmm.
then the skill is not available. I feel
Hmm.
that was relevant 3 years back,
Hmm.
but with enterprise collecting so much of data, I
Hmm.
really see that not to be true anymore, right? Everybody has data. People don't know how to use it, how to generate insight out of it, right? That has been the main challenge. The
Yes.
second aspect is skill is definitely there. Uh, there are not all are experts, but there are a lot of people who are doing a pretty good job in this field, and there's a decent availability of skill set. Now a company has to balance between a senior data scientist and a junior data scientist. That
Hmm.
aspect is there. So
Hmm.
the idea of this post was not to really say data as skill as the only reason why project fail. uh,
Hmm.
Lack of data strategy. Maybe you have data, you are not collected it, you are not organized the data, right? The second aspect I typically see is people focus on technology. Oh, I have neural network, I have RNN, let me use it. Don't go there. Select your
Yes.
use case from the business to the data, right? See what are the high impact use cases that you
Hmm.
have that you can solve from a data science problem, right? The second aspect is like if you take an researchers have a PhD and all, their ultimate goal is to beat the accuracy of the existing model, right? That's how
Hmm.
VGG, Inception, ResNet came into play. They increase the complexity and you get better accuracy, right? Now,
Yes.
rather than one of the other point I wanted to make is rather than concentrating on creating complex pipeline, also think about the deployment aspect of it, right? This is where a data engineer, a software engineer, and the data scientist come together with a common goal of making a AI project successful, right? Uh,
Hmm.
the the I think one more key aspect was basically don't focus too much on algorithms alone, right? There is other part of data science that is required to be make to make a data science project successful. It starts from your infrastructure. You need to have a right infrastructure to train your models, right? Whether it's GPU, CPU, cloud, right? You cannot do everything on your desktop because your data size is big, right? You need to have the right tool, right capability. You need to have a right accelerators that can take your project from your desktop to production, right? So
Hmm.
these are the
Yes.
aspects that some of the aspects, and maybe the blog covers more in detail, but these are the some
Yes.
of the aspects I want to put into play.
Sure. This is very interesting. So I'll also put the link of your blogs in my like YouTube video when I'll upload it. So yeah, I also do relate to that point. So like currently what we are majorly focusing on is model centric view. Like we are whatever we're building is like okay, so linear regression is not working. Let's apply RNN or something. Like we don't understand what's the need of applying more complex things if we can solve it with a simpler thing and just understanding it very, very well. So yeah, that makes very interesting thing. And
And I want to
that
add
also
on to it, right? Like that's a good point, right? Like linear regression is not working. Let me jump onto a complex model. What I
yes,
would say, like any data scientist or an aspiring data scientist, is listen to your model. What the model output says. If you are applying
perfect,
logistic regression, there are way that you can make it better. First, try
yeah,
to take a
yes,
simple task, listen to your model, take the feedback, incorporate in your model, and
yes.
then go to the complex model.
Perfect. Yeah. So I think the neural network and all those things are like black box. So you don't know what is happening inside it. So that is the reason that they are not able to penetrate into the field of finance and medical health. So because let's say a guy won a lottery or something like that, and you don't know how this model had worked and that guy had done something like that. So that they don't they miss that intuitive part. So for a beginner who's starting into this field, directly jumping into the deep learning part and building RNN or working on all those things, it's like you don't understand things well. You should start from basics, make that your strong part, and then move to the next part. Yeah, that is very,
Absolutely
very,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.